everybody. Welcome to my study session today. This event is about to begin, so get comfy and put your cameras on because I like to see the people I'm hanging out with, okay? That being said, this meeting is being recorded, so if you would rather not be on camera, that's cool too. I don't mind. I promised you a fun networking event unlike the rest, and that's what I intend to give you. So to start off today, what I need to say is you need to download, if you haven't already, the app called Kahoot. You can find that at www.kahoot.it and download that on your phone, not your laptop. And that is because basically I suggest that you work your networking event off of the computer so that you can see everybody on a big glass screen. It's nice to see everybody that you're chatting to. And when the questions come up for the quiz, they will come up on the screen. Therefore, you need to be playing the game on your phone so you can still see the questions. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so time to meet the team.
Hello, I'm Jordan Gamble and I'm the founder of Clear Property Sourcing.
Hi, I'm Julie Clark and I'm from Homes on Point.
Hello, my name's Adam Sandham and I am the Managing Director of Axelis Property Group in Manchester.
My name is Paul Thomas and I'm a partner in Thomas Dawson LLP.
Hi, my name is Katrina Ellis from Ruby Property Solutions and Financial Wellness with Katrina.
Hi, I'm Tyrone from Pixel Property Management.
Hi, I'm Johnny from TrustMix.
Hi, my name's Michelle. I'm founder of MMSC Properties.
Hi, my name's Mark McAleenan of Michaela Property Solutions Limited. Welcome to this fantastic networking event. I'm based in Southern Warwickshire. Happy to help anybody.
And if you have any questions, either raise your hand by clicking the button to raise it or write something in the comments because one of my team will pick up that question and they will raise it later on. Okay, guys, we're about to begin. Let's get into it. Hopefully you could hear all that okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much for my special guests who are coming here today. Alina's already here and Kevin will be joining us shortly. Okay. Thank you very much to Katrina, by the way. She is my lovely, beautiful assistant. She's fantastic. I don't think I could actually do this without her. So thank you so much. Okay, so as a little starter, I wanted to talk to you guys about networking like a pro. Something I see people do badly sometimes is when they jump into a networking event with some people, they start to sell really, really quickly. So at some events, you get like 30 seconds to pitch what you do and who you are. But at my networking events, I prefer not to work like that. I feel like it's about building relationships with people, getting to know them. You know, so when eventually, which is in a couple of minutes, you get thrown into a room with somebody or two people, start with, how's your day going? What you've been up to? Are you enjoying August? Has it been sunny where you are or pouring down with rain? Rather than, this is what I do and this is what I'm trying to sell, because I just don't feel like that's a good way to do business with people. And something that's really important is to follow up with people after the event, because sometimes what happens is you take loads of people's details, but then you don't go ahead and follow up with them afterwards. So that is the most important bit. Do not assume that somebody will follow up with you. Make sure you take action and follow up with them. It may be that they're really, really shy, but they do really want to talk to you. So be brave and make contact with anybody that you would like to speak to again. A little tip, I use Calendly. Hands up, anybody that uses Calendly? Yep, Andrew, Alina, okay, cool. So Calendly is really cool because you can set it with your calendar online so it knows when you're available. So you can just share that link with people and they can really easily book a chat. So anyone that doesn't have that, maybe just Google Calendly and have a look to see if that's something you might like to use. It's free. I love a free thing. Yes, and when you put your when you give your contact details to people, think about the best way for people to contact you. I usually don't give out my phone number to people the first time I chat to them because I just feel like that's not really appropriate. I might give them my LinkedIn or my Facebook, or I might give them the link to my Facebook page. That's also because I keep hitting my 5,000 limit friends, and so it's easier to get people to join my page because then I can talk to more people. I like to talk to lots of people. Cool, I feel like I've chatted too much about me, so let's move on to some speed networking. Katrina, would you please be a darling and pop people into rooms, 2 or 3 people in a room, so they can get to know each other, please. Making you wait, guys. So we're going to move on to our first guest speaker, Alina. And Alina, I met about 9 months ago, I think. She's an architect, and we were talking about a piece of land that I wanted to purchase because for my property school that I'm working on, and she was helping me look at what the possibilities were. And unfortunately that didn't quite work out. It was on the Greenbelt area, and we decided that that was a bit too difficult, but we are still working together to find that perfect piece of land that I will use to create my property school. And yeah, I just thought I'd let you know how I know Alina. That's our kind of business relationship with each other. And Alina, over to you if you'd like to start your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Shona. I will be talking today about co-living, co-working, and permitted development rights, and how you can use it in a creative way, how can you use the three in a creative way, and generate more profit in your property business. Okay, so a few things about me. I am an RIBA chartered architect, originally from Bucharest, Romania. My background is in medium and large scale projects across different sectors: residential, sports, education, hospitality, mixed use buildings, urban regeneration, and so on. I'm very grateful for the opportunities I had as an employee. But now I recently started my own architecture practice, focusing mainly on residential architecture. For the past 2 years, I've been training in property, investing, and business as well, which was great because it really opened my mind in terms of what can be achieved in property. And I'm currently working on 2 partnerships in property investing. I love research in general. People I work with can vouch for that. And I work on a collaborative basis, and I bring together the right people tailored to any project's needs, large or small, simple or complex. I make sure I cover all the bases. Okay, just for fun, this is how I like to be seen. This is my LinkedIn profile picture. This is how I usually look on a regular day on the construction site. Quite a difference, I might say. Yeah, so the reality is like, you know, the second picture. That's who I am. Okay, so the concept behind my presentation is the 70-20-10 rule. Why is that? So this rule says that, I'm sure a lot of you already heard about it. It was coined in business, and then it was used in marketing as well. And I think it's a very good model. So 70% of resources are usually spent on activities that are already bringing the income or profit into the business. For some of you, that might be buy-to-lets, HMOs, service accommodation flips, and so on. Then 20% of the resources are spent on expanding into new products or services. Maybe it's something that you've been looking into but haven't done yet, maybe development or commercial property. And then 10%, the last 10% of your resources should be assigned to transformational activities. And this is what makes a difference between good businesses and amazing businesses. This means that 10% of your resources you assign to researching completely new territories, strategic and visionary thinking, and coming up with solutions to problems that maybe are just emerging. Maybe it's something that will be happening in the future. And this is why my presentation today will take you through a lot of different things. And the reason behind that is because I want to give you like the general image of what is possible in property from my point of view as an architect. And then from the general image, we'll zoom in towards more, doable actions and strategies. Okay, so as I said, we have the big picture, the general context that I will be talking about. Then we will talk about co-living, co-working, and permitted development rights. And then at the intersection of the three, we have what I call the sweet spot. Okay, so let's get going. So general context. Overpopulation is pushing us to find solutions and share resources more responsibly. What that means is that in order to keep up with what is happening, we need to adapt continuously in terms of living and working spaces. Now, the UN projections for the future population growth is 9.7 billion people in 2050 and 10.9 billion people in another 50 years time. So that's a lot of people, and we need to be very careful what we do in order to be able to accommodate all that population. And we are in a great place as property investors because we can actually get to do something about it, which is amazing. Okay, so what do we have? We have professionals relocating for job opportunities. I mean, this is from Japan, I think, but you can easily see this, or you could have seen this before COVID happened in London. So it's applicable everywhere. But the past year and a half showed us that we can work from home, that it is possible on a large scale, which means that co-working and co-living should be in the spotlight and are in the spotlight. People are talking more and more about it. And actually, co-working and co-living refer to a model that is old and as old as time and is proved to be working. We can look at multi-generational families sharing the same house. You have indoor and outdoor spaces that are continually adapting to the growing or just changing needs of the family. So we have private rooms, we have workshops or studies for the trades and occupation. We have large tables where children do their homework or families come together to share a meal or celebrate an event. We definitely, because of technology, we are in an era where we share services and products because we are transitioning towards a subscription-based society. So if we share services and products, why wouldn't we be sharing spaces as well? Spaces to live, spaces to work, and legislation changes support the growing need for housing. What we can do as property investors and what I can help with as an architect is to watch out for these changes in legislation because there are windows of opportunity that are opening for a limited amount of time. This has happened in the past and it's happening right now. From the 1st of August, there's a change in legislation regarding the change of use of office space up to 1,500 square meters into residential units as permitted within permitted development rights. Of course, there are some conditions, but it's an amazing opportunity. And it's just a window of opportunity. I do believe that in 2 or 3 years' time, these rights will be removed. So it's something worth thinking about because it's amazing. So co-living, what is it? It's a general term that refers to different types of shared living. When we talk about co-living, we think in terms of spaces, like they need to be functional, they need to be attractive so that you can get the right tenants in. But at the same time, it's also about financial and organizational systems. So it's a lot more complicated than just people sharing space. It's a lot of logistics involved. It's a lot of, financial education, property education, management, and so on. And we can think of build-to-rent schemes, or leasehold homes in developments with self-contained flats and shared indoor and outdoor spaces. In terms of types of co-living, we've got co-housing, which is quite a general term. It refers to spaces created and managed by their residents, including both self-contained private homes and communal spaces. And then we have cooperatives, which are homes or workplaces that are owned and managed collectively by occupants, which means that co-housing can be a cooperative, but the other way around, it doesn't always apply. In order to have a cooperative, you need to have ownership of the place. So this would be the difference between the two terms. We have build-to-rent schemes, we have build-to-rent schemes are usually, purpose-built residential developments that are designed specifically for private rental. They're large schemes from 50 units up. They aren't officially co-living because there are self-contained houses, but residents do share amenities and services. And you can see the photo on the right-hand side, the bottom. That's actually what I see from my living room. I live somewhere in London, and we have this shared communal garden with outdoor dining area with a playground. It's quite nice, actually. And it's a very nice place to meet my neighbors because I'm quite new to the area. So that's nice. I enjoy life here very much. Then we have multi-generational homes, which, as I said, it's an example. It's a model that is as old as time. Private have family houses where grandparents live with their children and their grandchildren. Sometimes they have several entrances. They have adaptable rooms according to the changing needs of the family. Then we have multi-family housing, several families living in the same building or group of buildings in separate units, either built to rent or more traditional apartment buildings or housing estates. And then moving towards the student segment of the market, there are purpose-built student accommodation developments, which are done by private developers. And something that is very interesting, I think it's such an interesting trend, and I think it will be more and more relevant to the market. It's something called agri-hood. I don't know if you ever heard about it. Actually, I also heard it as Agriville, which is quite crazy, but it has to do with the fact that you develop a neighborhood focused on agricultural land and what you can do with it. So it's a form of eco-village with farming included. Which means that people produce their own food and sometimes even their own energy. They tend to be quite autonomous, and it's a very special type of large development. And it's an emerging trend in the developed countries. It's very interesting because in the US, it's quite a big movement at the moment. And it's very interesting to look at that because sometimes there's about an 18-month lag in business and lifestyle trends from US to the UK. And I mean, it's very interesting because they already have in the US a few agri-hoods, mainly around large cities. So they commute or sometimes they work from home. So they're not people that fully embrace life in the countryside. They're people who are very interested in organic food, good lifestyle. They're interested in living as a community. They're interested in green energy and so on. They're usually people with a high income. They're professionals and so on. So they're very well linked to the city, but at the same time they live just outside the city in this kind of agri-hood. And this is happening in the US for the last few years, and it started happening in the UK as well. So I think this is a very good market for developers. Okay, co-working. So everybody knows about co-working. I think co-working, I think people are much more open to co-working than co-living. It's a model that has been going on for quite a while. So basically, instead of having a space that you buy or that you own or you rent for work, and you have to think about services and take care of a lot of other stuff that take your time and focus from the core of your business, you can find flexible working spaces for an all-encompassing working solution. This means that you don't need to spend any more time and energy on anything else. You get hot desks, you get meeting rooms, you get other amenities and subscriptions. So you just go there and work. You don't have anything else to worry about. Some types of co-working are the equivalent of service accommodation. This is quite interesting. So as a concept, this is quite interesting. So service accommodation for living is what co-working is for office space. So it's about the concept of service as opposed to a fixed address, which is part of the circular economy concept in general. Is there a market for co-working? Yes, it is. So there are two important pillars for co-working. One of them is the growing freelance and startup community. As you can see here in this graph, so from the early 90s up to today, there has been overall increase in freelancers, in the number of freelancers, up until COVID happened, and then there was a dramatic drop. So if you look at this image on the top of the slide, you would think that it's really bad right now. But then if you zoom in and you look what happened from March on, you can see that things are stabilizing in a way, which is very encouraging, which means that the economy is getting back on its feet. And the other important pillar for co-working are large companies. So large companies traditionally used to have their own spaces, used to, manage everything and so on. But everything, I mean, from individuals to companies, everything is moving from ownership to subscription-based services, which means that they need to stay, especially in highly paying industries, they need to stay competitive with what they offer to their employees. And they tend to delegate, they just outsource the whole management, the whole, utilities, service, everything. They tend to delegate this so that they can focus all their energy and resources on developing the business, not the logistics, not everything else, which is great it works for the economy. So that's great. Is there a recipe for success? I wouldn't say a recipe, but there are things that work very, very well. So first of all, we need to understand what co-working space is. What is the experience of the user? What makes a user love that space and keep coming back to it? So co-working is never just a co-working space. It's co-working plus something else. It's definitely co-working plus a socializing space, but it can also be, you can get very creative about it. You can attach other secondary uses to co-working, which means you can have a great additional income to your property business with the secondary thing that you attach to a co-working space. You can also have a great selling point to attract and retain the tenants that you really want to have. And the key ingredients would be flexibility, balance, smart design and management. Spaces need to be comfortable and diverse so that they can suit all personality types. I will show you some examples of co-working plus something else that really brings a lot of business to that property. Co-working and childcare. There is a massive market for working parents at the moment. I'm not a parent, but I have friends who have children, and I know how important it is to, how relieved they feel and how they would actually pay for something that brings them a solution for childcare. So this is an example. This is a project in the US in Santa Monica. It's a really great project, and I love it because it shows what I love about architecture, that good architecture means bringing smart solutions that don't necessarily need to be expensive. They need to be smart. They need to solve a problem, and they need to create a place that the user loves. So we have here an old warehouse that was converted into co-working spaces plus childcare. And of course, childcare means there's a lot of noise. So they had to create these enclosures that are soundproof. Apparently childcare and working spaces go well together when you think about this stuff. So it's a very successful business and it's growing. Then we have co-working plus a members club. So as you can see, there are so many industrial but really cool and chic spaces to work in. You also have a bar, a restaurant where you can grab a bite if you want to. You can, meet an investor or somebody you're working with over a drink. And also, if you look here at the top of the slide, you also have the part of the, the networking hub, which is a very good idea because, it's like you work and you work on your personal and professional development as well. So they work very well together. Then there's co-working and local amenities. This is an example from London. This is a very smart project because this was a department store that wasn't working very well. It had a lot of redundant space. So what they did was co-working space and a bar, a restaurant, shops, and a studio. So this image here on the bottom of the slide, the left-hand corner, this is a meeting room that is used once a week. And for the rest of the week, it's a yoga studio. I mean, that's amazing. The kind of profits that they have. I mean, they deserve it because they were smart and they understood how people work. They understood what the community's needs were, and they just, seized the opportunity. So good for them. Okay, permitted development rights. Permitted development rights, plainly put, are just changes to a property without requiring planning permission. Permitted development rights are granted by the government. Local authorities can remove part of those rights by enforcing an Article 4 direction, depending on an area's development. So the local authorities are, constantly monitoring what is happening in their area. They see if there is an imbalance somewhere, and then they enforce an Article 4 direction and they remove permitted development rights. Permitted development rights is a subject that is a lot more complicated and a lot more complex than it looks. Most people think about, I don't know, an extension to a house or things of the kind. Okay, that of course is the case, but there are so many other things that you can do, and the legislation is if you really want to seize the opportunities as a property investor, there's a lot to research, or you ask an architect to do it, if you know an architect. I don't know. Okay. There are some exceptions when permitted development rights do not apply. They don't apply if, for example, you have a house, so the original house, as it was when it was built, or if it's a very old house as it was in July 1947. So if the extension is larger than 50% of the original house, then you need planning permission. If you've already done, or not you, but if the property already has undergone some permitted development works, then you can do another one. And also if there's an Article 4 direction. If there are properties on a designated land, such as in conservation areas, national parks, areas of outstanding natural beauty, World Heritage Sites, or Norfolk or Suffolk Broads, then of course you need planning permission, but it's quite difficult to, not impossible, but it's quite difficult to get planning permission in this case. There are also additional limitations that are very contextual. So it depends very much on the local council and on the context. So always check with the local council if you're not sure. Even if you think you're sure, it's very good to check with the local council, in my opinion, because otherwise you may be on the wrong side of the law and you might not know it. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you didn't know. It just you're liable anyway. When do they apply? So as I said, it's quite a complex subject, permitted development rights, but there are three categories. Single dwellings, when you have extensions and other small residential works, there are several things that you can do. I think these are the most popular permitted development rights works that you can do. Then if you have change of use within the same class, you can do, so you can change use within the same class from one class to another, but there are some limitations. And it's very interesting. You can knock down and rebuild a property, of course, subject to some conditions. And then when you have mixed use buildings, for extensions of a building other than single dwelling and conversions of mixed use commercial and residential, this sounds quite complicated. It doesn't have to be, but so basically if you have flats and you have a shop and a flat above, so I can send afterwards maybe these resources, these links for people who are interested in finding out more. So going back to the three categories to which permitted development rights apply: single dwellings, so we have extensions, conservatories, loft conversions, outbuildings, and porches. This is like a preview from planning portal. So if you go to this link, you'll find for every category of works what works and what not. Then change of use. I will now not go again over the same information. And mixed use as well. Now some tips. Always, as I said, always check with the local planning portal for previous applications for the same address or around the neighborhood. But it's very important to check when it was the last time that the local plan changed, because some neighbors maybe they were granted permission to do certain changes, but then some other changes happened to the local plan, and you will not be able to do what your neighbors have done. So you always need to check the local plan as well. So if you think that what you're doing is minor works and you don't need to tell anybody about it, maybe it's best to check with local council if any prior approval is required, just to be on the safe side. And after finishing a project under permitted development rights without prior approval, so if you just went ahead and did things your way without asking, make sure that it is registered. What you've done is registered for future security with a lawful development certificate. It costs, it doesn't cost that much. I'll just give you an example, but it's very different from one place to another. It can be like, I don't know, if you're asking for a lawful development certificate, it can be around £100. So it's not much, but it can be very different from one council to another. And of course, it depends on the kind of works that you are doing. So property strategies at the intersection of co-living, co-working, and permitted development. So why would you be looking into this very special area where the three overlap? So because you can bring to the market much needed solutions to current problems. It's like the housing crisis, student and young professionals needing housing as a service more than a fixed address, aging population, and so much more. What's your benefit? Why would you do this? You would stand out in a competitive rental and buyer's market for students, professionals, and families living in city centers or densely populated areas. You would have reduced to no vacancy, more reliable cash flow in your property as a result of higher quality of living spaces, having your tenants' needs covered in terms of living, working, socializing, and private spaces. You would create an easier and more predictable deal structure, use lower initial capital. So if you're creating a co-working, co-living environment within permitted development rights, you are using a lower initial capital because you will not be paying as many professionals as it were if you applied for planning permission, and the council fees are much lower. And then there's lower risk because you don't depend on planning. So you can go ahead if your numbers work. There's just lower risk. lower to none, which makes it more attractive for the investors who are funding your deals. And of course, you have shorter project completion time because you don't go through all the process, the planning process. How can you apply this information? So there are many possible strategies. Some of them, or many of them, you already know, like single family houses converted to HMOs. A lot of people are doing that, and it works very well. Extensions for larger family homes and adaptable multi-generational homes. Additional stories for existing block of flats or houses. Office residential units conversion, which is the window of opportunity that I talked about from the beginning of this month. Demolishing block of flats, offices, a mix of both, and rebuilding them as a residential block, subject to some conditions, of course, and so much more. But let's think about, so this is the creative part that I really enjoy, because I'm talking to investors, and sometimes we come up with ideas, and I tell them things that they maybe aren't thinking about, because me as an architect, I'm very much user oriented. So I think about the user's needs. And then as a property investor, because I'm property trained, then I think about an investor's goals, and mixing them together, you can get quite creative stuff, such as an HMO. Okay, so everybody knows about HMOs. What about the HMO principle for commercial property? You've seen those beautiful co-working spaces that I showed you. How about buying a commercial property and then applying the HMO principle? You can create beautiful, beautiful units. Some of them can be co-working spaces. Some of them can be bars that are accessible from the co-working spaces. Some of them can be retail spaces that add to the bustling life of the whole co-working community, and so on. And these are different streams of income, and they ensure that there are different segments of the market coming into your property. So people who want to have a drink, people who want to work, who need a co-working space, people who want to buy something, people who just want to, maybe they feel alone at home and they just want to be there in a, like a public building where different things are happening. So you're attracting people there, and you're attracting money there. Then flips. I mean, everybody knows about flips, right? But what about a niche for your flips that not many investors know of? For example, it's a project that I'm working on at the moment. Did you know that there is like a huge waiting list with councils for people who have, so for families who have a member of the family, an elderly member of the family, who is probably wheelchair bound. It happens with the age and everything. And so they're wheelchair bound, and they want to have that elderly member of the family in their homes, and they need to adapt part of the house in order to be wheelchair accessible. But at the same time, sadly, that elderly member of the family will pass away, and they will want to, because it's a family with different members, different needs, and so on. They will want to adapt back the house to, I don't know, maybe have where they had a wheelchair accessible bedroom. Maybe they want to have a study and a nursery or something of the kind. So it's about a niche that is a huge opportunity, and not many investors think about that. And it's not about creating like specialist assisted living sort of thing, which is it's a very specialized area. It's about taking a house, creating an extension within permitted development rights, and making it, through very careful and intelligent design, making it adaptable to wheelchair users, adaptable to young families with children, and so on. And this is an amazing opportunity, and this is a niche, and you can make this kind of flip, and you can put it on the market. You will see how many people will bid on it over the asking price, because there is such a huge market for that, and it's a genuine need that people need to be helped with. So this is just an exercise in being creative, how to use the three areas. So co-living, co-working within permitted development rights. It's doable, it's possible. it's just about having the knowledge of, designing the space, how to structure a deal. So the property investing part, putting everything together and getting the most creative things possible. So in conclusion, co-living and co-working can be integrated into smaller permitted development projects through an easy process and with an attractive return of investment. But of course, make sure that you check with your local council first. Or you can also incorporate this into even larger projects. And even if those require planning permission, the kind of amazing results they bring to their users, for the environment, and for your business growth, make it worth embarking on this kind of more complex process. My vision is an inclusive, well-functioning and sustainable environment where resources are responsibly shared and quality of life is at the heart of any decision-making process. And I will end with a quote that I like very much: to share is to build strength. So Professor Sadie Morgan from DRMM said that, which is a very nice architectural practice that I've been looking into. They have amazing projects. And that would be it. So thank you so much for listening. I'm happy to help. Please get in touch if you need, if you have any questions, if I can help with anything, write me an email or book a free 25-minute phone or Zoom consultation. I'll be happy to have a chat. It's an obligation chat. And this is my Calendly link. You'll have it in the chat as well. And very exciting bonus. There will be like a small game right now, and the winner of the game will get a 45-minute free consultation with me and 50% off my architectural services fees. And if you don't have a project, no problem. It's absolutely no problem. If you have one in 12 months, please come and talk to me, reach out, that's fine. And if you still don't have a project, if you have a friend and you would like to pass it on, feel free to do that. So thank you very much. And if you have questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Lena. That was brilliant. And you're very passionate about what you do, which is very important. And that will be the topic of our next speaker, who has just arrived. We're running a little bit late, but that's okay. Lena, can I ask you just, that's okay. You did very well. I didn't think you'd get all that in the time that you did. So well done. Can you please come off of screen sharing for me so I can see everybody? And does anyone have any questions for it? We've only got a couple of minutes, but does anyone want to put their hand up, ask Alina any questions? There's no pressure if you don't have to. We can go straight into a game. Nobody has any questions right now. That's okay. Alina, you can take a break, okay? Okay, cool. So we are going to jump into a game of Kahoot. So just one moment, please. 2, 1, quiz. What is Alina's architect practice called? I didn't actually tell you that, and nor did she. Is it? I don't even know how you say that, studio. Alina and husband, architects are us, or co-living architectures. I'm guessing it's the one I didn't know how to say. Just say it. Okay, as soon as you've clicked your answers, it will then let us know, and then we will move on to the next question. Everybody got it right. No, not everybody. 2 people got it wrong, but that's okay. You didn't even know the answer. It's just a guess. Alina's laughing. In the lead is Ty with 932 points. Well done, Ty, in the lead. Okay, next question. By 2050, what is the United Nations population projection? Is it over 7 billion, over 8 billion, over 9 billion, or over 10 billion? Who was paying attention to the slides? Who was actually listening and who was in another room watching TV, eh, guys? Answers, please. Answers, please. We're waiting for a couple more people to give their answers. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. No one's going to judge you. 4 people got it right. It was over 9 billion. Well done. And in the lead after the second question is Maka. Well done. Moving on to the third question. What is the main factor people consider when considering where to live? Family, job prospects, open spaces, or living near a cinema? Very important. Very, very important. Waiting for a few answers there. Oh, yes, that was the right answer. Job prospects, 2 people. Okay, who is in the lead right now? Craig is in the lead with 2,494, but that's quite a big jump actually. So good luck to everybody else trying to catch up. What is co-living living? Can't write. Different types of shared living. Living with animals, living with family, or living with ghosts. Oh, everyone got that one right. Well done, everybody. Okay, and in the lead now is still Craig with 3,375 points. Well done, Craig. Come on, guys, you've got to work hard to catch up. What is a multi-generational home? Living with friends, living with strangers, living with a disability, living with parents and or children. Do you like the little gif that I added on there? I thought that was cool. Okay, well done, guys. In the lead now, well, it's still Craig with 4,000. Craig, did you see the PowerPoint before everybody else by any chance? Moving on to question 6. What is an agri-hood? Is it a farm, an eco-village with farming, a farm shop, or a barn conversion? That's if I understood the slide properly. Everyone got that right. Well done. Who's in the lead? Still Craig. Paul, you're just behind with 4,166. Come on, guys, get up a little bit. Hot desking is a type of HMO, co-living, sport, or co-working. Well done, everyone. We're getting in there fast now. Everyone's got in with the game. Craig is still in the lead and Paul is still in second and Andrew is in 3rd place. Come on, guys. Question 8. Which example best explains PD rights? The right to buy a property, changes you can make to a property without planning permission, public documents shared online, or a puppy dwelling. I thought that was very creative, the last answer. Okay. Craig is still in the lead. I don't think anyone is going to catch up with him at this point, but we've still got a few more questions, so you do have the chance, guys. Okay, question 9. PD rights do not apply when people live in a property, when another extension has already taken place in the past, when there are building works next door, when the house only has 2 bedrooms. That isn't actually the correct answer. Now I've listened to the presentation, it makes more sense. So one of those is very similar to what it should say, but not exactly the words it should say. We're waiting for somebody else to answer. Well done, thank you. Good, you can understand what I'm writing. And Craig is still in the lead with 7,659 points. He's definitely been doing his homework. Okay, true or false? A loft conversion is usually covered within PD rights. True or false? It is true. Not always, though. And Craig is still in the lead. Andrew's moved up to 2nd place. Come on, Andrew. It's all right, Paul. You can still get back up there. It's all right. True or false? Councils can use Article 4 to remove PD rights. True or false? Craig is still in the lead. Come on, guys. We've got 2 more questions. True or false? You can check the local planning portal to see what has had approval in the past. True or false? Yes, you can. Last question. Oh, Craig, I'm pretty sure you're about to win, but this happened last time and then it changed at the very last question. So who knows? True or false? You should check with your council if prior approval is required before going ahead with works under PD. True or false? You better. I can't skip, so I need everyone to answer the question before we move on. Everyone got that one right. And the winner, oh no, it doesn't tell you the winner first. I think it tells you 3rd place is Ahmed. Everybody come off mute. Give Ahmed a round of applause. 2nd place was Andrew. And in 1st place, I wonder who it could be. Craig! Well done, well done. Hopefully that was fun for you guys. Sorry about my mess up when I'm reading aloud. That's not always great, but well done, guys. I hope you found that fun. We were meant to take a break 7 minutes ago, but also Kevin was supposed to start talking 2 minutes ago. So if you need a break, just raise your hand and let me know. Is anyone busting to go to the toilet or really need a glass of water? Michelle really needs to go to the toilet. Okay, let's take a 3-minute break and then I will introduce Kevin. All right, so thank you, everybody. Hopefully you're all back. If not, we've got to go without you. Sorry, it's no good being late. Thank you so much to Kevin for coming along today. I did a really good interview with him actually a little while ago, which I released just last week. So hopefully some of you have got to watch that. but it's not the same thing he's going to talk about now. Different stuff, I promise. And you don't look so sure there, Kevin.
Well, there's a bit of overlap because I remember you asking me some questions about, you know, why it was important for me to get into wealth building as an activity. So yeah. So anyway, doesn't hurt. I'm definitely going to share some things that I think are quite fundamental, and hopefully will inspire a few people to think about things. Actually, what was interesting as I was listening to Alina was there's such a incredible overlap. You know, there's always some key strategies to pick out, and then creativity needs to come to the fore. All of those things, you know, I think will be essential in what I'm sharing with you today. And good to see Craig flying away like Kenny today, who won the gold medal from the front, didn't he? Boom,
Yeah.
straight out the gun. So yeah, that was really great.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to your presentation, and you're going to stick around afterwards so people can ask you some questions if they want to. Is that right, Kevin?
Absolutely, yeah, no problem at all. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, then, take the stage.
All right. Well, listen, I'm Kevin Whelan, founder of Wealth Builders, and I hope you've heard the podcast that Shona pulled some really, really great points, and I'm going to move into some of those points now. But you know, it wouldn't be lost on anybody that we've been in very unusual times, and I kind of like to think we've been in actually it's the best of times now ever to be an entrepreneur, because we've had so much more time. But you can also see from big statistics, you know, all of the things that are worrying me about debt, the consumer debt, the debt in sovereign debt, and the debt for companies is all just going to make things worse. But the essence of what I'm going to share with you today is there's just so many more opportunities to create a business, to find a solution to problems, because so many problems are manifest right now. And one of the things that I want to touch on is just how unusual it's been when you think about it. Now, you can shout out loud if you want to, but what was this one? You know, this wasn't that long ago. This was the old Brexit, right? Then we had Megxit. Remember that one? That kind of caused a bit of a kerfuffle for a little while with the roles. And then, of course, we've all been stuck with this. But meanwhile, despite all of these things, you know, I've been true to my vision. It's nice to see Alina share her vision. And my vision, as you'll see a little bit later, is to help 50,000 smart people, committed people, you know, business owners and frustrated employees to become financially independent. And we're well on our way to doing that. And I'm going to share with you kind of why that became a big passion of mine, and kind of what I'm doing about that. And for those who want to help others, then, you know, you can join and get on board with the mission. I think the big thing that I've found as a problem is, you know, the need for financial independence is never become more relevant, since most people that you meet in society are relying on one source of income, whether that's from an employer, whether that's from a business, always trading time for money. And it's almost like there's a dependency, so which is the opposite of independent. And that dependency is doing work, trading that work for money, instead of having other things that create an automated flow of income. And I'll talk about what those flows will come from in a moment. But I see in the UK, and certainly in the US, a complete dependency on the stock market for wealth building and the delegation to third parties. That's what I see more often than not now. I think in your group, Shona, I've seen some of these nice faces before. They're the erudite few, the people who've already spotted that this isn't a problem and a trap that they're not going to fall into. We see 95% of people fall into that trap. And as you and I, Shona, know very well indeed, financial literacy is not taught anywhere. So in the end, you get it from somebody. And more often than not, you get it, or maybe don't get it, more like from your parents. And consequently, you know, what I'm trying to do is become a guide and an inspiration for other people to teach wealth building activities, so that you become financially independent And then just as you do on an aeroplane, you get yourself sorted and then you help the next person put your oxygen mask on first. My ambition is to help so many people to become financially independent. So it all really started with a very powerful reason why. And there's a couple of photographs there which are very poignant for me. One of those is, I was raised in Newcastle upon Tyne, if you're wondering where that bridge is, not Sydney, but Newcastle. And the Geordie accent is mellowed over time, but it's still in there somewhere. And the oil rig picture there is just a reminder that my father had a business. He was an oil rig worker, and a nice business of being an agent. He'd bring in welders and divers and other people, and BP would pay him to be an agent. And we started noticing that things were kind of looking good for a little while. Then, unfortunately, at the age of 46, he collapsed and died on a rig just like that, and they couldn't fly him home. And that was the end of my dad. And for me and him, we were genetic peas in a pod, really. I think I remember explaining this to you, Shona, that I was in my mid-20s when that happened. And genetically, then I thought, crumbs, if I don't make old bones. I was a young economist. My degree is economics. So I studied these things very passionately and decided that I had to really do something different. So I focused on some things. And the first thing I focused on was becoming mortgage free. Became completely mortgage free in 7 years. So rather than have a 25-year mortgage, paid it off in 7. And then really through trial and error and just using my brain and trying to think about ways to own things that I could pass on and things that would generate automatic income, which I now call pillars, as you'll see a little bit later. So through trial and error, I built my own wealth and became financially independent in my mid-40s, which is exactly what I wanted to do. 1 year before my dad died, I was completely financially independent and never really worked since then, but I passionately do loads of work because I'm so keen to share that with other people. And I'm a sort of a Dumbledore character now, the chief visionary, as you heard me say, the visionary in Wealth Builders, always the spokesperson, trying to get the message out, both to individuals, to organizations, and to educational establishments to put financial literacy firmly on the agenda. And I'm proud to say that I've created the community of Wealth Builders, and that's growing now. And I've got lots of people now on my side, kind of giving a little bit of weight to that vision. So that's my role. And I usually find myself, unusually, I can't remember the last time I wore a suit, but I think I'm going to a meeting in September. But usually I'm on stage trying to talk about this message, getting this message across, not just to employees, but to business owners who often get stuck in a business where they're dependent upon that business as opposed to being independent from it. Author of 3 books. I said I paid my mortgage off in 7 years. I wrote a book how to do that called Save a Fortune. My middle book is The 7 Pillars of Wealth, the 7 and only 7 ways to build wealth. I'm going to explain to you what they are in a moment or two. And a new book, not out till April of 2022, actually, is called The Wealth Coach, which is a joint venture with myself and Bradley Sugars. And I don't know if anybody knows who Brad Sugars is, but he's the founder of an organization called Action Coach. And so I'll be leading the discussion on that to 2,000 business owners in April 22. I should have been speaking in April 20, sharing the stage actually with Bob Geldof at that time. But unfortunately, that all went due to COVID, but I'm looking forward to sharing the message again. So this is a big picture for me. This is a real passion for me. And what I've done since then within Wealth Builders is created kind of niche ideas and programs from the passion. So the programs that I've created within Wealth Builders all revolve around something very specific. So I'm going to say a little nod to thanks to Alina as well, because she mentioned the word niche. And I believe one of the ways to build any business is to be very powerful and very outstanding in the niche that you choose to work in. And wealth is so much easier if you choose to do that. So finding a niche, being outstanding in the niche, and then finding a way that that business can create recurring income, not traded income, but automated income, recurring revenue. And anybody who would want to ask me later, I can explain the 4 ways and the 4 types of business that you can have that create recurring income. But the businesses that I have, at least with the Wealth Builders brand, are Wealth Builders Academy, where we have currently hundreds of people going through a 5-year program. For most people, it takes 5 years to become financially independent. And who wouldn't spend 60 months of their life to become financially independent rather than work for, in many cases, till they're 60? And we're seeing more and more people working in their 70s. We're seeing the state pension pushed back. So many big economic data is showing that people are not really getting to financial independence ever, but most people end up working in their 70s because they don't have enough money to get by. The next big niche we have is the SaaS pension. It's a way to convert old, frozen, and forgotten pensions into something very powerful, something that most people forget, and then they turn that money to buy property or to buy business or to lend to their company or so many more powerful things, including, by the way, all of the strategies that Alina was mentioning. So whether it's co-living, co-working, or permitted development, for some people, they can turn their pension into do exactly that when they didn't even realize that their pension money was in play. The third one we have is mentorship, which is where essentially I teach people who want to work one-on-one, and I usually work with families, sort of an extension of something called the family office, where we create a family charter for a family to then teach the kids and the next generation, as well as preserving and valuing the legacy, because as you know, legacy is such an important thing to me. Some of you may have heard that I do a podcast, and Shona and I both share that vision. So that's called Wealth Talk. And also we're just launching a new business, Wealth Builders for Teens. Actually, we're renaming it. We just made a decision last week to rename it as Wealth Builders for Families, so that we can go up and down the kind of legacy generation from kids as young as 6 to, I'm actually having a session with my own kids, age 30, 27, and 24. And we're having a family meeting where they'll be joining my SAS because wanted them all to be ready. And we'll be working out ways that they can become wealthy. And my middle son, Michael, who's studying to be a lawyer, said, "Does that mean you're just going to give us money, Dad?" And I said, "Absolutely not. It does not mean that at all. It means I'm going to show you how you could do things for yourself that will help you build wealth. And of course, the family will help you do that." So my whole life kind of revolves around trying to be outstanding in a niche. And in the way I do that is always to take the role of being a guide, not a guru, not somebody who knows everything, but to harness the skill of other people. And so each of these programs is actually run by somebody else. So Christian Rodwell, who was an ex-student of mine, now runs the Wealth Builders Academy program. Paul Brooks, who's an ex-IFA, who was in my IFA business. I have an IFA business as well, which is not Wealth Builders branded. And he runs that program. And Wealth Builders for Families is now renamed, is Neil Morgan, who you know, Shona, and that was me and Neil just a few weeks ago, me giving him a nice bottle of champagne to celebrate our joint venture engagement. So what I'm saying is that you can often, your passion can become extended when other people buy into it. And it takes a while, but once you've got there, they'll keep this going. Oh, look at them. They're all younger than me, or, way, way younger than me. So they'll keep things going way past, me. And then Chris runs the podcast as well. So he's got a kind of double whammy. So I work with smart people. And that's what I try and find. I try and find really smart people and bring them in to the organization and then make a business with them. So just a quick thought then, if anybody in this community now has got an idea that extends the concept of building wealth, then if you want to get into a flow where you've got thousands of potential customers thousands of potential sources of revenue, but you're not quite sure how to do that, the fastest way to build revenue is to get somebody else who's in flow to deflect some of that flow to you. So if you've got a great idea, then you can reach out and talk to me if you want to do that, because I'm all for great ideas that, as long as it keeps us on mission, which is to deliver more and more people to the message of becoming financially independent, and the reason for that. So I like to think of myself as a smart person as well. Not as quite as smart as this guy, but actually, you know, I'm an economist, as I said, and I'm now going to tell you the formula for complete financial independence. So you don't need to work 5 years. I'm going to give you the formula that you can learn in 5 minutes, but it's not really an extension of what you did with Kahoot. It was an old-fashioned formula. Economists like old-fashioned formulas, and this is the formula. And this is the time to get your cameras out, guys, and then just take a picture of the formula, then go away and study that, and you should be able to work it out. Or maybe not. The actual formula is hidden in there, and it's this. Now, Shona, somebody can translate that for me in my little hieroglyphics. So what does that mean? And if anyone wants to shout out or put it in the chat box, just to give me a chance to, quench my thirst. What does that mean?
I don't have a clue, but I love the smiley face at the end.
So when AI, which doesn't mean artificial intelligence, is greater than or equal to E, equals smiley face forever. What does that mean? That is the formula. Somebody's going to get it. There's usually a smart person who gets it pretty quickly. Somebody's got it, I'm sure. And the other thing, while you're thinking about it, by the way, is I'm going to share with you later 7 and only 7 ways that you can build wealth. My 7 assets or pillars. If you can find me in this room today, number 8, I will send you a very fine case of champagne. So the other thing I study is wine, by the way, but nothing to do with wanting to be a sommelier, I can assure you. Right, what does it mean? Has anybody got it? Anything in the chat box, Shona?
Sorry, 1 minute. Katrina, anything in the chat box? No, nothing in the chat box.
Technology, annual income is greater than expenses, says Claudette.
Well, almost, Claudette, almost. So pretty close. It's when asset income, it's not annual income, because your annual income could stop in a heartbeat. So when your asset income is greater than or equal to the expenses of the life that you want to live, not the expenses you may have today, but the life you want to live, whether it's 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, 15,000 a month, whatever the figure is, doesn't really matter. The figure's not relevant. But once you've determined what that figure is, when the income that flows from your assets is greater than that figure, then you can be happy forever. And that's basically the formula. So the key thing to understand then is, well, if asset income drives everything, what are the assets? Because all you want to do is, once you've learned them and once you've applied them, you don't have to work hard anymore. You know, when you're working hard, it's like the escalator's going down and you're trying to run up, which is okay when you're a kid, but you know, when you're grown up, and look, when you seriously, when things stop, when people lose their jobs, when people lose their businesses, and we've seen that, when people lose their health, you know, the expenses carry on, and the whole thing, you know, drives people down to the bottom. When you can master the art of creation of assets, then this is a very easy process. So it's about doing some hard work at the beginning. And these are the 7 and only 7 assets. I'm going to describe them to you briefly, and I'm going to see if anybody can work out what's the difference between the assets on the right and the assets on the left. Now, most people try and build their wealth in some way. We all know the story, you know, we've all read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We all know, get a good job or get good grades, get a good job, and then save your way to your retirement. And that's what most people do on the right-hand side. They live in a home, they get some form of pension somewhere, whether it's workplace, whether it's personal, whatever it is. Rarely is it a SAS. And then they have some money in the bank, or they have some money in ISAs or other products, so to speak. And that's pretty much where most people stop. And that's why 95% of the population don't make it, because there's a dependency or an over dependency on buying a home, often actually carrying forward huge amounts of debt from, certainly now, from student life, from consumer debt, and having a mortgage around your neck for 20 odd years is a big drain on your income. And then when you're saving some money in a pension, which usually goes where? Well, usually goes in the stock market. And then you save money in ISAs, which usually goes where? Usually goes in the stock market. And what we see then is an over dependency on the delegation of money into markets, where as an individual we have no control. We talk about Alina showing how you can add value to things and being creative. There's no creativity there. There's no value being created for the vast majority of the population, which is why the 3 pillars on the right can be creative too, because you can tap into the equity in your home, you can build annexes around your home, you can use capacity in your home, you can certainly turn your pension into a very successful asset, definitely. But most people who want to build wealth sustainably, for to not just to build the wealth for themselves, but to pass on to the next generation, need to understand the other 4. And the other 4 are a portfolio of property, generating a different sort of income, generating automatic income through rental, business that generates recurring income. And I mentioned earlier on, I focus on recurring income businesses, not businesses that trade time, or you've got to do so much work. With respect to Alina as well, an architect is a difficult one, because you get paid for architectural work. I'm not saying she's not building wealth separately, but as an architect, that's really a profession. And most professionals do not build wealth from the work of being in professional. So we can talk about those businesses in a moment if you want to know about the 4 different types. But building a business with a high degree of recurring income is a very powerful thing, almost an infinite ROI, because you're just solving problems for people. Intellectual property, or creating an automatic stream of income, not from profits or from accruals or from memberships, but from knowledge, from things that you've done that you can repackage, repurpose, and reapply in a way that gives you an ongoing stream of income, like books, like training materials, like courses, all of those things. So IP is a very rich form of building IP, or building assets rather, and an income stream from that. And one of the income streams that is very nice, if you can get it, is that one, royalty. I mean, even the sound of it sounds good, doesn't it? Royalty. Ooh, I like the sound of that. Anyway, not everybody can get to royalties, but we can all do joint ventures. And joint ventures is the collaboration of 2 or more people working together for a common end, with a view to building assets together. So sometimes you can apply different ways of thinking, creativity, or different sources of money, or somebody does the funding, somebody does the binding, a whole range of different skills. And I'm big on joint ventures. So my 2 favorite assets are business and joint ventures. What are yours? Many people love property, and that's fine. I get it. I'm not poo-pooing any assets. I've got an interest in all 7, but that's the key skill, is to understand all of the different assets, all of the different ways that you can engage them. And if you can get multiple streams of income from not just 7 assets, because if you think about property as an example, we've got so many different strategies there, maybe 15 to 20 strategies. So you could have multiple streams of income within each asset. And what is the key difference then, do you think, between the assets on the left and the assets on the right? What do you reckon?
Guys, I know a few people have written in the chat. Don't be shy, unmute and talk to Kevin. He's not that scary, I promise.
Is it bad debt and good debt?
Well, I take your point. It's a very good point, Michelle. I mean, you can definitely leverage debt, and there's definitely a difference between good leverage and bad leverage. So that's a very solid point to make. And most people on the left will be comfortable with that. So, and leverage is a great word, because what you're doing on the left is leverage. You're using leverage, the leverage of something, the leverage of, there are 5 sources of leverage. You can leverage finance, you can leverage intellect, You can leverage relationships. You can leverage systems and processes. You can leverage your time, through VAs and all sorts of things. So the more you understand leverage and the more you can create and be part of the value chain. Remember what I said with the stock market. You can't wake up tomorrow. Michelle, what could you do tomorrow that will change the value of the stock market? Nothing at all. But what could you do tomorrow to form a joint venture? Something. What could you do tomorrow to be thinking about the creation of your own IP, or even just thinking about the ability to do it, whether it's now because you've got it, or whether it's in the future as you begin to visualize that you've got it. What could you do today to create a business and solve a problem for someone? Well, you could start that today. You could build and do something in property, even if financial leverage was light, because you could look at rent-to-rent strategies, or you could look at, any form of strategy where the actual financial leverage is low. There's a bit of laughing going on there, so sounds like maybe you're already doing that. But in any event, the whole point is involvement, leverage, being part of the value creation chain. Now, the reason why this is all critical is because it goes back to my story, right? So my story is helping 50,000 people to become financially independent. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's St. James's Park in Newcastle, which is the football team that I support. It doesn't give me any joy or pleasure, it just gives me frustration, I can assure you. But nonetheless, my imagination, the vision in my head is 50,000 people speaking the language of wealth and then positively outpouring from a stadium like that, infecting positively other people to help them become financially independent as well. And that's my vision. And it all came from the death of my father and my decision to be completely committed to never, ever trading time for money again, ever, and only focusing on building assets and building relationships with other people. And I'm delighted to share any wisdom that I've accumulated. And that wisdom is critical because as you think about how most people leave a legacy, they kind of end up leaving money. They die and they leave money. That's the worst thing to do, because if all you do is give people money who are not prepared for it, they're not skilled in the use of it, they're not intellectually ready with any wisdom and any rules that have been passed on to them, then that legacy will dissipate, that legacy will die. And that's what happens in life. So the family charter that I create for the families who work with me is not to do that, not to distribute the money. Despite my middle son pleading for the money, I'm saying, no, I'm going to give you wisdom, which is more valuable to you, and show you how you can use. Yes, you'll get some money, but you won't be getting everything you want on a plate. You're going to have to do your part too. And that's where I reach out to you guys. So if you can help me find asset number 8, if you've got an idea that you want to work on, I'll be happy to talk to you. Or you just want to say hi and collaborate. I'm a friendly face. I know I look a bit old and wizened, but I am approachable. And you can reach out. If you want to help, join the mission, drop me an email. Nothing more than that. Or find me on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and just let me know if you like the message. Listen to the podcast. Just do something to help somebody else, as well as, so remember I showed you a picture of the bridge. I want you to imagine that you're crossing the bridge yourself. You're on your journey. I know you are. So perhaps you already knew this, but as you're reaching out, reach your hand forward and invite someone to help you, and reach your hand behind you to invite someone to be helped. And that's the best way to build wealth. And I commend the thought to you. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that was useful.
That was brilliant. Thank you very much, Kevin. Round of applause, everybody. A round of applause. Brilliant. Okay. Does anybody have a question for Kevin? Please don't be shy. Just ask him. Ask him anything. Anyone? Michelle. Michelle's always good at asking questions. Go on, Michelle.
Does he work? It said before it said family, it said teens. Do you do any work with teenagers? Because I'm a teacher and I work with teenagers.
Yeah, so the program has just been renamed. So the reason I renamed it was originally it was Wealth Builders for Teens, but as we started to write the course materials, we found that we couldn't really differentiate necessarily. We couldn't say one bit of information was just suitable for teens, because we thought, well, this bit of knowledge we could, like, for example, the concept of debt, we can apply that to young people, teenagers and older people. So we thought we'd just change that. But yeah, I mean, if you're on board with wanting to help teens, we can invite you to beta test our program, so you can look at it for free. And if you want to be a collaborator in some way because you've got some unique knowledge, I know Shona's talking to me about that as well, I'd be delighted to work with you, Michelle. So joint ventures coming up.
Excellent, cool. I've got a question actually. You mentioned about paying off your mortgage really, really quickly, and also mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, and obviously he kind of promotes not necessarily paying off like your own mortgage, but using that money for something else. But I do believe that paying off your own mortgage is important because I want to stabilize. But if you could talk a little bit about how you feel about that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. The issue is I deal in principles, not in opinions. So to me, there's a principle that you've got to know yourself and you've got to know who you're building wealth for before you start making decisions. Now, you remember my story was my father died when I was 25, and it took me about 3 years to kind of really wrestle with what I wanted to do. And this is when I was 28, and I was getting married when I was 29. So I asked the permission of always best to ask permission of your wife, but I asked her permission. I said, look, I'm going to give up the job. I'm not going to do this anymore, but I need your permission. This is before we got married. And she said, you've got my 100% backing. I know how passionate you are about this. If you do one thing for me. And I said, what's that? She said, do not put the family home at risk. Right? That had nothing to do with leverage. Now, I live in a nice house. I have no mortgage on my property, and I'll never have a mortgage on my property. I could do loads with the money that's locked up in the bricks and mortar of my property. I could buy dozens of properties with it, but I will not, because I made a promise and I won't break that promise. So that's, everybody's different, and sometimes you'll have to keep some promises. For example, one of the promises that I always keep is what I call unimpeachable integrity. Never compromise anything for the sake of making money. And I know Katrina feels that way, and I've seen it in action. I've never seen anyone who's more committed to helping people than she's been, and what she does to make sure that integrity just runs through the very DNA of her as a person. And I'm like that. So, I don't cut corners in relationships. I don't cut corners on doing anything to get somewhere faster. I just do it based on principles. So I don't have a problem with people using good debt. No problem at all. I'm just not doing it on my own.
I made that exact same promise to my girlfriend. So yes, I completely understand what you're talking about. Anyone else had to make that promise to anybody?
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, Ty. Good for you.
Cool. Anyone else got a question or just anything that you'd like to bring up? Yes, Andrew, go ahead.
Right. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Andrew.
Just wanted to find out, with the kids side of things that you're teaching them about finances, are you also looking to teach them business as well, or is it just the financial side of things?
I wouldn't preface anything I do with the word just, because it's usually quite all-encompassing. I genuinely think that, look, Shona and I could probably go on about this for hours, couldn't we, Shona? That, I think Alina mentioned creativity several times, and I think she's spot on. And I think the educational system is kind of educating the creativity out of our kids. And I think there's a genuine option to become an entrepreneur, and a young entrepreneur. And in fact, in the program, we encourage ways for kids to be able to earn money, to manage money, and then to use that to do something positive. We call it the 7 Ps, which involve, I won't give you all the 7 Ps. They're not the same as the 7 pillars, but it's things like, what problem are you helping to solve? What are you going to be doing for your peers? What are you doing you know, for your parents? What are you doing that's great for your pets? You know, so in other words, to get them to think about creating value in the world, not just for themselves. So, you know, we'll be definitely touching on different careers, and probably in due course, Andrew, I'm sure I'll be sponsoring some kind of event to allow young entrepreneurs to flourish. Because I think what was missing for me, the reason it took me 15 years to get to where I wanted to get to, I didn't have a guide, didn't have any help, didn't have a book, didn't have a CD or even cassette tapes, which it was then. There was no PCs, there was no mobile phones. It was, you know, it was, everything was based on what was in here. But now there's so much more information, and you know, I think it's important to share that rich resource of what's out there with kids of all ages. So again, Andrew, I extend the same offer to you as I offer to anybody. If you believe you can add some value, and I mean adding value, then I'll be more than happy to connect and collaborate with you in any way.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks.
Thanks for your question, Andrew. Anyone else want to bring anything up? Yes, Craig, our big winner of the day.
Kenny, out the
Thank
block.
you. Yeah, just out of the block now. Kevin, thanks so much for your speech, mate. It was very enlightening. I've got a question on the SASs, if I can. I don't know how informed you are on them or not, but so it's about the lifetime allowances.
All right, getting technical, right?
Are we? Sorry. Yeah, maybe it's a conversation for another day, perhaps.
No, I can do that. I can do that.
So what I understand, you can have up to, I think it's 11 or 12 people within a SAS. Is that correct?
Well, maximum is 11.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So does the lifetime allowance go up with every person you go in there,
yes,
or is it just? Sorry.
Yes, it does.
Oh, fantastic.
So the current, yeah. So I'm a professional SAS trustee and an expert in this, so you're definitely in the right place to ask a question. The lifetime allowance is really the government putting restrictions of tax on people to have things that are completely tax-free. So a SAS pension is income tax-free, corporation tax-free, capital gains tax-free, and inheritance tax-free. So bloody tax-free. So
we like tax-free. Yeah.
We like tax-free because in a world where, you know, most people, as I said in an earlier slide, are depending on a job or a business, you're paying taxes in those things. So whatever you can do to do things with tax-free money is a great thing. Now, the amount of money that you can have completely tax-free without tax getting involved, in round numbers, Craig, about £1 million. Now, I have an aspiration internally when I'm dealing with people who do SASs, and we help thousands of people cross the bridge from having basically shit pensions to superb pensions, and we do that all day long. And when we do that, our ambition is to get £1 million in each person who joins the SAS. Now, you heard me say my 3 kids, my wife's and myself are in there. The 3 kids will be joining. So our lifetime allowance, 5 million.
Okay, brilliant. Okay,
that's what
I've got many more questions, but maybe for another time, perhaps.
Just connect, Craig. You're asking great questions, and obviously you're a man to follow with that score. So just reach out and connect with me, Craig, if we haven't already done so, and I'll be more than happy to have conversations with anybody about SAS. I can't stop talking about that, as Katrina knows, because I just love the concept of giving people control rather than somebody taking control away. That's why wealth falters, when people take control, and the financial services industry removes control. You know, they don't provide incredible value. They do provide value for some people who can't be bothered to build their wealth, but they're not wealth builder customers. They're not wealth builder members. We're looking for people who want to take control, to be part of the solution, not kind of delegate the problem. Because if you delegate the problem, where's the wisdom for the kids?
There's no wisdom anywhere.
There's none. It's just like, we'll just rely on the stock market, kids, and hope it all works.
No,
it didn't work in 2008. It didn't work in 2020. It won't work again. You know, when all this debt, this national debt, you know, the 350 billion that we've spent, you know, and understandably so, to pay for the pandemic, that money's going to come home to roost somewhere. And you know, all the moratorium now are off for getting people out of properties now. So many people in rent arrears. there's going to be a big correction in my view. Although I did say I wouldn't give an opinion, so I'll hold back on that.
We could perhaps have a discussion on that as well at some other time. But anyway, I feel I'm monopolising your time. But thanks. I'll reach out to you.
Definitely not. But thanks for the question. I appreciate it.
Kevin, is it worth adding here, just in terms of SaaS, in light of recent experiences, that because SaaS is an unregulated area in the market, it is of extreme importance that you do your due diligence with knobs on in this particular area. There are so many people lacking integrity in this and taking people's money. And if you have any niggles at all, if you're proceeding with this line, please do stop in your tracks if you're not 100% happy, and just be extra aware in this space.
Yeah. And, the other points I'll mention is we've written guides on SaaS. We've got videos on SaaS. So if SaaS is an important thing you want to find out, just we do this really well, and we don't promote investments. So most people who are making SaaS a bit of a sad story, I'm afraid, have got an ulterior motive for your SaaS. So if I'm saying the financial service industry's pensions are bad value, generally speaking, and mostly the long-term returns about 4%. So if you want £10,000 a month, figure that times 25, you need 2.5 million, in a pension. Well, most people don't get to 1 million at all. So it's really impossible to build wealth from conventional pensions. So other people will see that, and they will try and sell, colored diamonds in South Africa, car parks in Dubai, holiday homes in the Caribbean, something that is about them, not about you. So SaaS is about empowering you, not to empower somebody else. So if anybody's offering you anything, please don't follow anybody who's pushing something. It's their agenda, not yours. So that's very powerful, but in the wrong hands, it can lead to ruin.
Yeah, I mean, what I found out about SaaS is, what I found out about SaaS is that it's a great tool to add to the toolbox, and I'd want it for a particular purpose. So, as I said, maybe we'll have a discussion on that.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks for your time. Cheers.
Craig. Okay, we've got time for one more question if anyone has one. If not, okay, Alina, you're going next, and then we're going into speed networking. All right, off you go, Alina.
So Kevin, thank you so much for your presentation. And it's an honor to share the same Zoom call with you. You have a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that really makes me deeply honored to be here today. I wanted to ask you if you were to give a very short, concise advice to young professionals like me who are transitioning from being an employee. So I'm not an employee anymore. I've worked as an architect as an employee before.
Yeah.
Now I'm transitioning towards being an entrepreneur and an investor. So I recently started my own architectural practice, and I'm looking to start investing in property as well. And I believe that I've grown a lot, but I still have so much to learn, not just in terms of knowledge, but in terms of, mindset growth, let's say. So from your experience, your wealth of experience, what would you say to somebody like me who is in a transition of this sort?
Okay. That's okay. I'll try and be as concise as you would like me to be. I think the first thing to do is decide what are you, is to decide whether you're in business, and then how do you create a business with the 3 pins and the power, right? So unique, outstanding in a niche, recurring income, and the business can work without you at some point, right? The reason why I've got young people working for me is so I can stop. I don't want to stop, they'll carry me out. It's fine. A lot of people will say to me when they look at me and say, well, why are you still working? Well, I'm not working. I love what I do. So until I stop loving what I do, I'm going to carry on. So I'm still here. So shut up and leave me alone. Get on board or get out of the way. Now, so you have to decide, are you in business? Then if so, find a business that touches those 3 power points, right? If you're not in business, you're making good money as a practitioner, that's absolutely fine. Then you're an investor. You're reinvesting the profits. And if you're doing that, if you're making good profits, learn about SaaS. If you're making profits, obviously you know about property. You gave a good presentation about property. So you'll find ways to get a property. But the key thing in any asset is you have to work out where your leverage is. So because you're in business, I'll give you the areas where you can create recurring income businesses from. So you can decide if business is your pathway, which one is it? So is it A, think about what you know out there and what you see out there. I don't think this one's you, but it might be somebody here. Can you auto ship a product of some kind? Well, probably not in architecture because it's a service. So that's not going to work. But maybe, somebody in the room might go, oh yeah, I'm doing something, I could auto ship that. So you're getting some kind of recurring revenue from a customer. Could you auto deliver a service? So is there a way that you can do something with a service that auto delivers? Or contractually delivers. So instead of trading time for money, hourly rate, what could you do to give somebody a benefit that they could pay monthly for? What could you do to create some form of enhancement, some kind of long-term value where you're joining the dots of creating a membership program or something that binds people to you with a good message? So I think you've got a good place for IP because you've got the knowledge of the architecture, but you've got the knowledge of property. So I think you could probably build IP around being investable. I think I'm working with an architect doing that. So do connect with me and I'll try and help you share with you what I'm sharing with him. And the fourth way you can create a business is to create a business where you become a gateway. You see what people want and you look horizontally at what they do and you look vertically at what they do. So what do they do before they get to you? What do they do after they get to you? And could you create some kind of a, what would you call it? Some kind of platform where wherever they find you, you connect them to people before they find you. You connect them to people. So in architecture, who's going to find you, or who's going to refer somebody to you? Is it a kitchen company who does bespoke kitchens and therefore they need an architect? Or does that work the other way around? If it works the other way around, if you're the architect of designing bespoke spaces and they need a great kitchen, find a great bespoke kitchen supplier to work with, and then you can create a sort of a gateway that says we do bespoke work, and you've got the architecture, you've got the kitchens, you've got the whole range of services, you've got everything that reflects the values that you want to do, and then start building collaborations. And that way you're getting affiliate income from as many different places as it ethically makes sense for you to do. So if you want to be in business, there's the 4 ways to be in business. If you don't, make as much money either from IP, from architecture, or be an architect to make money and then reinvest the proceeds into property. So you just got to decide where you are on the EBSI quadrant, from the cash flow quadrants idea from Richard Appord. Cash flow quadrants is the next book that came out of that. So you just have to make a decision. I find most people don't. They get stuck in one thing that they're doing, not thinking about where they're going.
Thank you.
All right. That wasn't as concise as you probably wanted, but
that was perfect. Thank you so much. That was really eye-opening. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. We're going to swiftly move into speed networking now. So the last thing I just wanted to say for tonight is thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Like, if nobody turns up, I would just sit here really embarrassed. I would probably cry a little bit, honest. So thank you so much for coming. It means a lot to me. Just to let you know, I'm running a small promotion tonight. If anybody books a ticket for next month by midnight tonight, it's only £5 for a ticket for the next session. And the guest speaker next month is Joanna, I can never say her name, Pahosky. And she has a lot of knowledge about business. Mark knows her quite well. And she's going to be talking about property investment as a business, leveraging accountability and mindset. She's done a lot of work with me. She helped me kind of work out how my property school could work as a business, because before I had that conversation with her, I had no idea. I was just like, I just want a school. Yeah, but a school doesn't make money. You have to work out the other bits. So I would definitely say that she's one to listen to, and she's a good person to speak to. She's also got a Facebook group that you can join. So yeah, definitely book onto that if you want to. Katrina's going to drop a link in the chat if you did want to book on that ticket. Remember, you've got to book it by 12 o'clock tonight, otherwise that offer won't be there anymore. Does anybody else want to go back into speed networking, or are we done for a Sunday night? Everyone unmute. We could just all chat here. Claudette, are you done for the night?
I'm happy to chat.
You want to chat? Johnny wants to chat. Craig?
I'm happy to stay around and have a chat with some new people. That'd be awesome.
Cool, excellent. All right then, I'm not going to ask everybody else. Katrina, if you wouldn't mind, did you get it prepared in advance, or do I need to keep talking? Should I keep dancing? That's my interlude music.
Of course not. But what at this stage, Craig, will you I don't know who, I don't have a record of who's met with who. So if you could tell me
I've
maybe.
spoken to Jonathan. I've spoken to Fidela.
Fidelia.
Apologies, sorry. And also Claudette.
Okay, all right. Okay, I shall give it a go. If anybody is put in the room with the same person, please do let me know. I shall do my best to mix it up.
While Katrina's sorting that out, I'm just going to put my Linktree link in the chat. If anybody wants to have a chat with me, then book a chat with me. It's cool. I'm always happy to meet with new people, talk about your ideas. I don't really like to talk about me as much. I get a bit embarrassed talking about that, but this link will tell you all about all the different kind of projects that I'm working on. And yeah, I'm hoping to be doing some work with Kevin. We'll see how that pans out, but hopefully that's gonna go ahead in some form. Cool. So Katrina, are you ready? No stress. I can keep.
No, I had them all divvied up, but some people have dropped out, so I need to move some people around. Give me 2 ticks.
It's okay. If anyone's left, just you can put me in a room. I don't mind.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think we're all good now. So
excellent.
There we go.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Hello.
Thanks for coming again. I just keep saying thank you. I feel so happy that you guys have turned up. Thanks. One more announcement. I lied before. There was another announcement. Michelle probably knows. And Claudette knows. On the 22nd of August, I'm arranging a real life meetup. It's not an event. I'm not calling it an event because I will stress myself out about organising things. It will be in East London. I will make sure it is within 10-15-minute walk of a train station, and we'll also have parking because I prefer to drive. I hate public transport. Is there anybody here who would like to and is able to get to East London on the 22nd and might be able to come for a little meet up just to say hi and things like that?
Just August, I take it.
Unfortunately, I've got other events planned, but I'd like to maybe join up with you guys another time. That'd be great if I could. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I'm really sorry, I'm gonna have to go as well because my battery's almost gone and I don't have a charging lead, unfortunately. But really appreciate the let-in. Thank you everyone so much. It's been really lovely meeting most of you, and hope to meet the others some other time, perhaps. But all the best and thank you so much.
It's nice to meet you too, Craig.
Nice
Thank you. All right, you guys. I think we're going to finish up there for tonight. It's been a long one. I reduced the time. It was like 3 hours last time. I put it down to, it was supposed to be 2 hours. It's been 2 hours, 20 minutes. Again, thank you. All right, guys. I hope you have a lovely evening. Have a good week, month. If you want to come to my free networking, it'll be next Sunday. So I'd love to see as many of you there as possible. Have a lovely jubbly evening. Bye-bye.
See you later, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Sure.